episode 24. Today's pun-tastic title is still Dianamite. Yes, more Diana stories in the paper today. Today's papers, we've got a 4-paper day. We're doing The Sun, The Mirror, The Daily Mail, and The Times. I have to leap over and grab the Daily Mail in a second. The show is now live, is what I'm typing on my phone to tell Twitter. So three tabloids and a pseudo broadsheet today. The Daily Mail likes to suggest that it's not a tabloid, but come on, it's a tabloid. And the Times obviously is a tabloid format now, but still thinks of itself as a broadsheet, whatever that means. Basically, that you've got a slightly larger thesaurus than your tabloid stablemate. Right, the show's now live. Tune in. Boom. Pop that into the Discord, and then we'll get started. We're going to start with the Mirror, move on to the Sun, then do the Times and the Daily Mail. I always say Daily Mail like that. I've realised that that's my vocal tick for saying the Daily Mail is the Daily Mail. Damn, now this is a tabloid. Yeah, that's a proper full-on tabloid headline going there. Hello, Studying Fangirl. How you doing? Hey, Yoda Stomach Pump. You don't have a meeting. Well, this is good. I'm glad you're here. Always appreciated. I'm not sure if you've seen, but the shows are now going up on YouTube every day. So if you don't get to see them live, they are conveniently placed. They're conveniently placed on YouTube. Boom. Yes. Okay. Right. Let's get going. With the Mirror. Front page of the Mirror. Top of the shop is obviously coverage of the Friends reunion, going with the Joey catchphrase. How you doing? Matt LeBlanc is the only member of the cast, really, that doesn't look like a melting waxwork version of his younger self. On the other side of the page at the top, Max and Kira's 300 Lifesavers, donor law a year on. As usual with British newspapers, the Mirror making sure that its own role, however inflated in getting that law passed, is mentioned on its front page. And on the bottom, the main story for the Mirror today: 5 celebs face abuse claims, TV stars sex scandal time bomb. Matthew Perry's had quite a lot of work done too. Anyway, so the Mirror is claiming that a TV star, a comic, an actor, another comic, and another TV star are in the frame for sex abuse accusations. Of course, it doesn't name them, but an unnamed source says this is a time bomb waiting to explode. Yes, the Times reunion story is, I would also assume, unrelated to the paper's main story. Inside, nursing's pressure epidemic strain making heroes quit, writes Martin Baggett, the health editor. Trump blow as inquiry is criminal. Donald Trump's business is now being investigated in a criminal capacity by the New York Attorney General Letitia James, who said the inquiry into the financial dealings of the former president's property arm is no longer purely civil, but gave no further details. On page 3, which in the Mirror is very much just page 3 and doesn't feature a semi-clad woman. A wander in Wonderland. The Duchess of Cambridge strides through the Victoria and Albert Museum on a visit delayed by COVID. And Russell Myers, the royal editor, says, how much is that doggy in the window? Queen wants new pup after one died. The Queen has told aides to look for a new pal for her lonely dog Muick after his fellow doggy Fergus died. They still haven't... Oh, he passed away due to a heart defect. That's very sad. But this is part of what happens when you're creating dogs like this. The breeding... selective breeding does end up causing these kind of things. Studying Fangirl, absolutely agree with you. Sex scandal is not... abuse is not a sex scandal. That is a typical tabloid framing of it. And yeah, you're right to call it out. Princess Beatrice is having a baby. I mean, Alan Partridge shrugged to that one. Don't know her. Pages Mariah Carey style. I don't know her. On pages 4 and 5, Arena Bomber's brother, I'll talk if you don't prosecute me. The elder brother of the Manchester Arena Brothers wants immunity for prosecution in return for answering questions about the attack. Ismail Abedi wants the Attorney General to give him protection. An application was made to the inquiry chairman, who will decide whether to pass it on to the Attorney General. Peter Weatherby, a QC for some victims' families, said, if granted, this would be an undertaking which would potentially protect a person from prosecution for terrorism and other offences, including mass murder. Nicolas de la Poer, counsel to the inquiry, stressed it would not be suggested Mr. Abedi should not be suggested Mr. Abedi is guilty of any offence. Suicide bomber Salman Abedi murdered 22 people at the arena in 2017. His brother Hashem was jailed in 2020 for at least 55 years for his part in the plot. Apparently the Jersey fish war is continuing. Fishermen reported that a French vessel was working off the island's north coast. I expect that to creep its way back onto the front pages. Yodi Stompum, if we know the issues selective breeding dozen dogs, why do we let the royal family do it? Good point. Hi, Ged Station. Nice to see you. Afternoon, Auntie Dange. Afternoon, Mr. Gump. Hello, Yuan. Right, more on this suggestion of further things to come out about big names in the TV industry following the accusations against Noel Clarke, which of course I'm required to note he denies vehemently. It's claimed that Lily Allen is going to put names of people who she is accusing into album track titles. Dermot O'Leary has signed an open letter, and Rebecca Ferguson has reported a major senior male figure in show business. It says Lily Allen will reportedly expose alleged abuse in her new album, with the title of each track to be the first name of a man in the music industry she claims mistreated her. And they hinting at who these comedians, TV stars and actors could be. One comedian actor is facing accusations for at least 6 women, including allegations of rape, sexual assault, and abusive and controlling behaviour. One complained to police, but after he was interviewed under caution, he was told that there would be no further action. But it is understood that at least 2 of the women were considering going public with allegations or reporting to the police. We understand this man has at least 2 non-disclosure agreements in place with former sexual partners. A comedian and TV star is facing accusations of sexual harassment by at least 3 women. We understand that 2 of the women talk of being humiliated and traumatized by his attention. A third we understand to be gagged by a non-disclosure agreement. Another well-known TV star is accused of making inappropriate advances towards young women. An award-winning actor is accused of exploitative or manipulative relationships with multiple women at once. And one TV star is accused of coercive and controlling behavior stretching back at least a decade. One colleague has described how he would send unsolicited videos of himself engaged in sexual activity to female workmates and friends. An ex-partner described him targeting a series of vulnerable women, pressurizing them to send him sexual photographs of themselves. He's accused of drug taking and collecting extreme pornography. I would say that several of these, a name comes to mind for me for several of these people, having heard rumours in the past. So I doubt we'll be surprised when and if these names are revealed. On pages 6 and 7, Britannia rules the waves and beaches. That is an excuse for just to have a picture of some women in swimming costumes for no good reason. Boris Johnson's apparently confident that jabs will beat the variant. I'm always suspicious when Boris Johnson says he's confident about it. A council boss, a former leader of Kensington and Chelsea councillor, said he feels desperately sorry for the victims of the Grenfell Tower blaze. Nicholas Paget Brown resigned within weeks of the fatal fire at the 24-storey block of flats in his borough. He done an inquiry that systematic failure had occurred and lessons must be learned. Fucking hell, lessons must be learned. One of the most disgusting phrases in British public life, in my opinion. On page 9, mocked in translation, Welsh speakers hilarious video with Hollywood stars Rob and Ryan. Actors Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney reach out to fans of Welsh football club they bought, while a grudging translator makes takes their sentiments and wrecks them. Maxine Hughes steals the show in a comedy promo for an upcoming documentary about their purchase of underachieving conference side Wrexham. In it, they introduce themselves while Maxine translates their words into a Welsh rant, saying the pair have no hope of running a football club, while claiming it one wears a toupee and the other thinks Wales is in Scotland. Mark Kanosis is not really sure about drug taking and even collecting extreme pornography, given how broad that definition is being lumped in with abuse. Again, it's just tabloid muckraking in terms of those aspects. Although, I can see a scenario where the collecting of certain types of extreme pornography might well link to behaviours. Yodi Stompum says, absolutely understand why you can't say who, but I also want the juicy gossip. Yeah, I mean, it would only be me commenting on gossip that I've heard and unsubstantiated rumours, and unlike some journalists, I don't go in for that kind of thing. Pages 10 and 11 of the Mirror talking about the donors law, which means that all adults in the UK are automatically registered as organ donors until they opt out. 300 people have donated organs for life-saving transplants since last year due to that law. Good thing. Slinkermeyer, yeah, in this country, loads of ordinary kink is labelled extreme pornography. So yeah, exactly that. And I've got huge issues with the way pornography is treated and categorised in this country. I mean, some of the stuff which was initially banned, although some of that stuff has changed, was utterly ridiculous. E.g., face sitting being classed as extreme pornography. Yodi Stompump, what are you saying? Shippers were speaking the truth and he got silenced. Yes. On page 13, more claims around the Madeleine McCann case. Andy Lines, the Mirror's chief reporter, says Maddie linked to South American pedo gang. Police revealed how network was busted. Police have smashed a global paedophile network, which they believe might have links to Madeleine McCann. The police make these kind of claims all the time, and reporters report them. And very often it turns out to be, well, almost always it turns out to be nothing. Slinkermeyer, yeah, I did enjoy that face-sitting protest as well. That was both hilarious and striking. On page 14, Ed Balls' mission to fix care crisis for his mum, ex-politician to live with residents. Ed Balls is on a mission to solve the care crisis by moving in with residents to see what reforms are needed to make their lives better. The former Labour politician's mum, Carolyn, who was in her 80s and suffers dementia, recently moved into a home, entering a system that was in crisis before the pandemic struck. Now, for a BBC Two documentary, Ed plans to find out exactly what has gone wrong and what could start to put it right. He will then present his findings to those in power, both in local government and Whitehall. Okay. Hey, Dick Pendren, how you doing? Good to see you. A story in the papers yesterday, covered again here by the Mirror. The PM's expensive £840 a roll wallpaper is apparently falling off the walls, which is hilarious. On page 15, clues that girl, Naomi dropped bump hint at her baby news. When Naomi Campbell announced the arrival of her baby girl this week, it took many by surprise, yet she dropped a hint about her big news months earlier. The 50-year-old supermodel revealed she had become a mum by sharing a photo of her hand holding her baby's feet. The star has previously dated Russian billionaire Vladislav Doronin, ex-Formula One boss Flavio Briatore, and YouTube bassist Adam Clayton has not revealed who the baby's father is or if she carried her naturally. It's unlikely she carried her naturally. She is 50. But in an interview in February, she gave a cryptic cue about her impending news by telling of bumps in the months ahead. She told ID, 2021 is a great year. We've just got a few more bumps to get through first. I believe that this is going to be an amazing year. Actually, I just don't believe it. I feel it will be. In a 2017 interview, she spoke about wanting to be a mother. On pages 16 and 17, we line up the suspect in ITV's dripping new drama that is Innocent. Haven't watched any of it yet, so I'm not going to read that just in case I spoiler myself. On page 19, Secret of My Success. No one loves me or hates me, says Joel Dommett, presenter of The Masked Singer. A new letter by Roald Dahl, a year before his death, has come out. It reveals passion for inspiring children. Student Christine Wooten wrote to the author in 1989 after finding his address in the back of a library book. Her dissertation was on him. She says, I asked him questions which intrigued me regarding his style and attitude towards children's literature, never really dreaming of a response. But he wrote 2 pages back saying, the content of any children's book is of no importance other than it enthralls the child, and thus it seduces him or her to like books. Auctioneers Hanson's say Christine of Chagford, Devon, now a librarian, is likely to make up to £800 on the sale on June 15th. Bet you it goes for more. Yeah, oddly enough, they managed to find a letter in which he isn't wildly anti-Semitic. Good afternoon to you, Red Tech Seed. More coverage of this story about the search of a cellar at a cafe in where is the cafe? In Gloucester, where it's suspected that Fred West may have buried one of his victims. The headline from the Mirror, quite insensitive really, is Digging for Mary. Campaigners have put pressure on ministers to hand a $1.5 billion contract for 3 warships to a British consortium. Yes, let's build our weapons here. On page 22, High Time Len, heroic World War II veteran who was 101 in a fly past honour. A war hero age 101 was... They're always war heroes. Like... Anyway, a war hero age 101 was honoured with a Spitfire fly past yesterday. Len Gibson, who survived the Burma Death Railway, okay, that's pretty hardcore, was joined by family for a birthday party which included a parachute jump by the Red Devils. He said at Harrington County Park in Sunderland, I am in heaven. Len was a Lance Bombardier with the 125 Anti-Tank Regiment Royal Artillery in 1942 when their ship to the Far East was bombed. The POW survived forced labour until 1945 in Burma, where he entertained inmates with his guitar. On return, he met nurse Ruby, his wife of 70 years. She died in 2014. Ex-teacher Len is selling his memoir, A Wearside Lad, to raise cancer charity funds. He said, music kept me going. A war veteran awarded France's highest military award has died aged 98. Al White was evacuated from Dunkirk in 1940 at 17. The rural lad had been sent with the 1st Army Tank Brigade after a mix-up with his date of birth. He was later part of the dangerous Operation Pluto, which helped deliver fuel for land operations. He left the army in 1946 after service in Africa, the Middle East and Germany. Later a National Coal Board shipping manager, retired in Merseyside with wife Aubrey. Gillian McKinnon of the Royal British Legion said, 6 years ago, Alf received the Legion d'Honneur. He leaves an incredible legacy. He has died at age 98. The Geordie voice of Big Brother is back on Amazon. Marcus Bentley, who's been associated with Big Brother for more than 20 years, has been signed up to the voice of an entertainment show. He has voiceover duties on Now That's Entertainment, a talent show to rival X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, which has also signed BGT winners Richard Jones, George Sampson, and X Factor champion Sam Bailey. Marcus told how he felt lost without Big Brother when it ended in 2018. He has got a great voice, to be fair. Yeah, the kind of the coverage of the Fred West stuff is horrendous. Penman investigates. They find they highlight various con men. Their headline for the new rail network a shake-up is End of Rail Fail. I'll believe it when I see it. Booze binge city that gave birth to the modern pub. Wartime crisis forced nationalisation of Carlisle's inns and a change of culture. I mean, we talked about that the other day. In the life section, 10 ways to transform your leftovers. You can turn an apple core into tea, veg scraps into stock, banana skin into a curry, bread ends into croutons, parmesan into soup, potato peelings into crisps, carrot tops into pesto, leaves into stir fries, orange peel into sweets, and leftover vinegar can be used to pickle veg. All pretty standard stuff. I agree, Sankamara. It sounds like they're trying to nationalise the railways without saying that's what they're doing, and basically half-arsing it by keeping the rail companies private but having a public oversight body that essentially defines what happens. In the TV recommendations, they recommend the finale of this season of Taskmaster, as well as Saved by a Stranger, Subnormal, A British Scandal, EastEnders, and Emmerdale. In the letters, their big question is, should people be allowed to visit family and friends in amber list countries? 80% of people voted yes, 20% no. Linda Adams says, no, ban all travel abroad this year and support our country. Our border should close until other countries catch up with jabs. Tamiko Victor says, yes, I can't wait to see my family as it's been a year. Let's be grateful for little steps moving forward. Rob Miller says, yes, not to allow it is basically saying amber is actually red, even though there's minimal infection in the Canary and Greek Islands. Who suspects that Rob Miller wants to go on holiday to the Canaries or the Greek Islands? Rebecca Ruth Carey says, no, people seem to forget that traffic lights change, as will a list of countries that are deemed safe to visit. Sky Young says, no, why are holidays abroad even being considered at present? It's all too soon. We should wait until we have a clearer picture. And Sharon writes, yes, if travellers are prepared to pay for PCR tests and self-isolate on return, then why not? In the motoring pages, they test the Peugeot 508 PSE 5-door saloon. And in the sport, Nats the way to do it. Liverpool's 3-0 win at Burnley marched them into the top four and set up a final day Champions League showdown. Goals from Roberto Firmino, Nat Phillips, and a late strike from substitute Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain mean they now face off with Chelsea and Leicester for the final two spots in next year's elite European competition. Right, that is the Daily Mirror. For me, it's the continuing problem with the Mirror, which is it's quite boring. Not super offensive, but quite boring. I give it a 0. Tara writes, that weird janky public-private railways thing they're doing now is very New Labour. Absolutely agree. Tara writes, also that Keir Starmer thing appeared accused about borders and the Indian people was gross. It was. A -10 for the Mirror from Mr. Gump. Mark of Kenosis, more offensive than usual today. Yes, I would say so. Slinkermeyer in with a quadruple negative nice, justified for the headline. Right, so we're going to do the Sun next. I'll just do the roll call first, and then we'll move on to the Sun before we do the Daily Mail and the Times, and that will be our lot today. Tomorrow will be a magazine special, so if you have a magazine you want to request, remember you can chuck some coins into the newspaper fund and tell me what magazine you want. If you do that before, say, 3 o'clock today, you'll be guaranteed that I buy the magazine you want to see looked at. I know Dan, I think, had asked for me to pick up the non-league paper, and I'm still going to do that if I can. I haven't been able to get a copy of it yet, but I am looking, and if I come across it, I will put it into the coverage. Right, so the roll call today. I'm the Broken Bottle Boy, of course. You can follow me on Twitter at Broken Bottle Boy and on TikTok at Useless Conquest. Remember that episodes of this show are going up on YouTube now, and if you can go there and watch them, that would help, because I want to get the view numbers up on those, and also share them if you've enjoyed. Like, say if you enjoyed today's episode, watch out for later when I say that it's up on YouTube. If you can share it, that would be superb. Elsewhere in the chat today, we've got Auntie Dange. Good to see you. Glad to see you fast becoming an excellent regular. Carbot14XYZ, always silent but regularly there. I suspect I know who you are, and I appreciate it. Commander Root, good to see you. Dan Jones 3142, thanks for being here. Dick Pendrin, always good to see you. Similarly, Ged Station and Industrial Pet, you are excellent regulars. Mark Kenosis, a stalwart of the chat and usually pretty funny. Maureen Skell, thank you for being here. Mr. Gump, good to see you. Red Tickseed, hello. Slinker Meyer is excellent. Do check her out on Twitter and Instagram, where she shares a lot of her really good photography work. It's well worth seeing. Cider Streams, good to see you. Tara writes, also an excellent contributor to the chat and on Twitter too. The Royal Flush, hello. Trioperds, nice to see you. Yoli Stomach Pump, yes, I gather, as you say, you've not been able to pop in recently, but it's always great when you're here. Yuan, the Fishmeister General, is here, and of course the ever excellent Zoe Brings Bacon. Good to see you all here on this Thursday show. Friday should be an interesting show It's going to be a magazine special, and we're going to go big on the papers as well. But in the meantime, let's move on to the Sun, front page of the Sun. It's Mark Kenosis, if we ask for a magazine that doesn't exist, will you film yourself asking the newsagent for it? No, I am not a YouTube prank maker. Mark Kenosis, excuse me, do you stock Cum Sommelier magazine? Yes. Dick Pendron, have you got Wankers Monthly? They've just fuck off. Right, front page of the Sun. Again, they're trying to get you to go to Chessington World of Adventure. More coverage of the Naomi Campbell story. Naomi Campbell, party girl to model mum. She's 50 years old, for God's sake. The party girl thing is old. Main story is a Diana story exclusive. Friends claims Bashir conned Diana. He said BBC Chat would be on charities. I don't actually believe that, personally. Can you chuck that Daily Mail over if you're moving?
I'm moving now, aren't I?
Thank you very much. Yodi Sun Pump. I will say local shop in my new village has a very large section of pornography. A sight you don't see too often. Well, I guess it's because rural broadband isn't amazing. Right. Okay. Front page of the Sun. We've just done the front page. Let's move in and see. On page 3, there isn't page 3, but is page 3. Kylie's still on corset. Kylie Jenner shows wearing a corset is never a waste, W-A-I-S-T, of time. The Keeping Up with the Kardashians star, 23, says she is trying to be a good influence on her millions of online fans. She told Tomorrow magazine, I aim to be a good role model, but I mostly just try to be myself. Right. The Beast... What are you doing over there? Oh, okay. Booty and the Beast. Lucrative US chase deal. Mark the Beast Labette is poised for stateside stardom after being signed up as head chaser on a new US version of the smash hit quiz show. Jason Derulo has had a child. Whatever. On pages 4 and 5, exclusive, Pal slams BBC interview on day of report. Diana would still be alive today if she hadn't done the Bashir chat. Well, hang on. I mean, Martin Bashir has done some very dubious things, but he wasn't driving that car in Paris. Mark Canos, Mick reviews an old copy of Nuts. I bet I could probably find one. Wow, the liberal elite making jokes about the red wall. Industrial Pet. I used to find pornography in the woods like a normal person. Off to drink K-cider in the park as a fresh-faced 15-year-old, and finding some porn to point and laugh at was a standard Friday night. Whoa, are they now blaming the BBC for killing Diana? Yeah. There's definitely a market for artisanal porn. Artisanal porn.
Artists anal porn. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum.
You're very perky today.
Yeah.
You've had too much sleep. On page 7, Burnley's Barnes in bother. Claret and booze. Aces drink drive arrest. That's striker Ashley Barnes arrested for drink driving. Mark, the Beast Labette is Matt the man who married his cousin, 27 years his junior. Yeah. He's one of the few famous people from Newport, I believe, so I'm disappointed to learn this, says Dick Pendron. Well, of course, it's obviously Goldie Looking Chain who put Newport on the map. Dick Pendron is excited that a person in the room is contributing today. Yeah, she's not off getting coins today.
No coins. Can I just check, has our Wi-Fi been rebooted recently? Because things aren't connecting.
No, it hasn't. And certainly don't touch it now in the middle of the show.
Touch it in the middle of the show. Just like it's fucking weird.
I think it might be your coins.
It's not my phone.
Yoli Stomach Pump. I'll grab a picture next time. Hello to the shop to give you an idea. Also, the shop has the best range of supers. Industrial Pet. Etsy keeps advertising the most incredible queer erotica, and I need to get somewhere to live so I can buy it all. Zinkemeyer had forgotten about the existence of GLC. GLC is still out there. Also, I believe in fact, I know for sure that several members of Dirty Sanchez were from Newport because I had a Newport is for Lovers ski hat when I was on my best friend's stag do, and I sold it to a member of Dirty Sanchez for several pints. Moving on. Rod Little is fucking awful. They're really weird about Naomi Campbell, as I said. Here is an absolute Yodi Summit pump. My ex got tag teamed by Pritchard and Danton. Okay. Well, there's a story that we need more detail on. Here is the most tabloid page in today's Sun. Attack of the Psycho Cows. Which just reminds me of the Simpsons thing. If a cow could, it would kill you and everyone else you love. A herd of cows stares scarily into a camera minutes before almost trampling a woman to death. Cows. Their headline for the Friends reunion is "Smile, be there for you," and they get a third day out of Nick Knowles doing a illicit cereal ad with the headline "Crunch Talks." More coverage of the disgusting Bill Gates revelations. Great news for ugly rich men. Girls go for cash and charm, lads for looks, according to science. Who is this science from? Dr. Stephen White, a behavioural scientist at Queensland University in Australia, said males and females can differ quite significantly in the importance they place on characteristics. The study, published in the journal PLOS ONE, surveyed 7,325 dating site users aged 18 to 65. Found blokes in their 20s value looks, age, and physical build 4 times more than young women do. Even in their 60s, looks continue to matter more than twice as much to men. Right? Yeah, but this is people on dating sites. Is that a great, I don't know, that research sounds just ridiculous. Pink hardcore megastar reveals the real her in her tour documentary. Her true colours, apparently. On page 26, a touch of glass. Dad buys beer for lone OAP. A caring dad bought beer for an OAP who couldn't order a drink in a Weatherspoons as he didn't have the app. How is this a full-page story? Mark used his own device to order the 79-year-old punter his first post-lockdown lagers. Okay, yeah, great. That's nice that you did that. You didn't need to tell the Sun about it. She revealed the true her in the song Family Portrait. I've got a soft spot for Pink, to be honest. Now Ali G gets woke warning. Woke telly bosses have slapped a warning on Sacha Baron Cohen's Da Ali G show. Streaming platform BritBox will alert viewers to racist terms on the show, first aired on Channel 4 in 2000. But there will be no homophobic warning, despite Ali G calling gay men batty boys. Jewish comic Sasha, 49, won a string of awards playing the wannabe urban rapper and spoof interviewer for several years. These content warnings on older shows are a good idea. Well, I hate this stuff. Footy chief firebomb. A footy chief's home has targeted a suspected petrol bombing yesterday. Celtics Peter Lawwell, 61, and his family, including his young granddaughter, were asleep when a car in the driveway was reportedly set alight. The motor exploded and the blaze spread to the house and garage. Family fled unharmed. Mr. Lawwell retires from Scottish Premiership club next month. The spokesman said clearly Peter's family extremely shaken and shocked by these terrible events. I mean, it is disgusting. Woman claims she was moments away from swallowing a cigarette end in a takeaway treat. She was tucking into a £50 Turkish meal when she made the discovery in an Iskender, a kebab-style lamb dish. Why the hell is that in the paper? The manager of the kebab shop says no one in the kitchen smokes. Deliveroo is investigating. Yes, agree with you, Tara Wrights. They're also doing a sneaky bit of using queer people to bash racialised people thing with the comparison to baddie boys, which is patois. Agreed. Red Tick Seed, a succulent Turkish meal. Dick Pendrin, not unusual that there are Jewish comedians, of course, but the scum should label him as such. Yeah. Yodi Stomp Pump, chef's not smoking. Fuck off, yeah. Speakers copy TV scene and order 12 bottles of wine. Alexa owners are being driven mad by a Motherland episode which keeps triggering their devices to order 12 bottles of wine, a taxi, and play dance tunes. Oh, God, shut up. Boxer's wife may be tougher opponent than AJ after Miami picks. Will Mrs. Fury tan Tyson's hide after his frolics with the sun cream babes? I don't know, maybe? Tonight's Pick, Subnormal, a British Scandal, the story of black children wrongly taken out of mainstream schools in the 1960s and 70s after being branded educationally subnormal. The Sun says, horrifying, as if the Sun isn't continuing to be racist. But yeah, that will be, that's an important documentary. We Are Lady Parts, Channel 4, 10 p.m, a new comedy about a Muslim girl punk band who tonight are looking for a guitarist. Is Amina the woman for the job? Saved by a Stranger, BBC 2, 9 p.m. Identical twins from World War II are on a search for childhood friends whose father hid them in Nazi Germany and saved their lives. Hosted by Anita Rani. And Taskmaster, Channel 4, 9 p.m. I used to love The Little Chef. I like getting the little orange lollies at the end of the meal. There you go. There's a nostalgia thing. In Fab Daily, being in Hearsay gave me PTSD, says Suzanne Shaw. Now I feel like a superwoman. I'm in a different headspace. In Deirdre's photo casebook, the plumber is talking to the sexy blonde, and he's going out for a coffee with her. Mark Canosis, Little Chef was great. You're damn right I'm paying an extra £4 to have a steak with my breakfast. Elsewhere in Fab Daily, meet the experts here to help you. Tracy, the Fighting 50 blogger. Ruby, the cosmetics brand founder. Keisha, the Instagram influencer. And Lisa, the Strictly makeup guru. Okay, fine. In the motoring pages, they look at the new Land Rover Discovery and the new Kia Sorento. Right, in the letters, today's £50 letter comes from Jim King, who writes, I can't believe we still have flights coming in the UK from COVID hotspot countries. We know how bad the situation is in India, but we still don't close our borders. What is the point in observing the COVID advice from the government when this is undoing all the good work we've achieved? We are so close to some kind of normality and we could end up with further lockdowns. Jean Norfolk, not from Norfolk, but in fact from West Yorkshire, says, what on earth is the BBC... Hang on. I'm not going to do the accent. I'm just going to do a posh lady voice. What on earth is the BBC thinking about when it considers sacking Nick Knowles from DIY SOS for advertising shreddies, yet Golden Boy Gary Lineker is okay to advertise Walker's crisps? The difference is, Lineker advertising crisps is not directly related to the football show he does, but Nick Knowles playing a builder in a TV advert while also being in a show about refurbishments is more connected to the show he does with the BBC. There you go. Some context for you, Gene. Just looking to see if we've got any no coins ads in the Sun today. And in the sport, that's all chokes. Kane misty-eyed solo lap of honour. Levy admits club has lost its DNA. Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2. That's the Sun for today. For me, it's a double negative nice. Minus 69. Yodi Stompum. I used to work at a little chef that was at Markham Moor in the A1. One time I had the pleasure of serving John Prescott, who was immensely rude to everyone, ordered the fattest burger on the menu, and it was clear his aides hated him. Zinkemeyer says, that's better than my claim to fame. I served Bradley from S Club 7. He couldn't sit still and tipped 3 pence. Mark Canosis. And how would you like your eggs, Mr. Prescott? Thrown by a mulleted man? Mr. Gump once made John Sim a cappuccino. Mark Canosis is minus 98 for the Sun, redeemed only by the cows. Dick Pendry, my claims to fame are all related to working as a journalist, so they don't really count. Arid Tracks gives the Sun minus 1409272569059860000 cubic kilometers. Dick Pendrin says S Club drug horror. Mark Canosis, I sent Paddy Ashdown a USB stick to update his TV. And Slinkermeyer in with the classic double negative nice for the Sun. And Dick Pendron rates it minus the distance to the Sun and back. Right, we are moving on to the Times. Top of the shop in the Times is an interview with Graham Norton, King of Chat, why Graham Norton backed out of retirement. In the Times too, an actually interesting article, according to the person in the room, about why urban beekeeping might be a bad idea. Partly, I believe, to do with bees actually not liking to be up that high, but also to do with competition for food in urban areas.
Yeah, because people have done too many bees.
All right, too many bees. I'm covered in bees. Top story about, well, not top story, but the next story down on the front page. Senior civil servants as privileged as they were 50 years ago. A study has found that only 18% of senior civil servants come from a working class or low socioeconomic background, compared with 19% in 1967. Boy, we've got so close to a classless society, haven't we? Dick Pendrin has seen Nicky Wire in a cardigan in a cardigan buying sandwiches in the M&S at Cardiff Central Station. Mr. Gump, my mate, used to work for the civil service and said that out of every old political ghoul he met, Barry Ashdown was hands down the biggest prick of them all. Red Tick Seed says, bees! Mark Gnosis also once pissed off Ant and Dec by shouting, whoa, it's PJ and Duncan at them. This was about 2005. The drummer from Primal Scream said, my drumming sounded like I was building a shed, said Yuan. Nice. Okay, the Times main story is hopes rise for end of lockdown next month. More outrageous briefing from the government. And on the right-hand side, bluffing is a sign of being clever, according to a new study. Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? Inside, they cover the Friends reunion. Then there's a story about Jane Austen. 50 years of shadow has been cast over Jane Austen because of her family's complicity in what one of her heroines described as the sale of human flesh. The author has been tainted with involvement in the slave trade because her father was a co-trustee of a sugar plantation in Antigua. Last month, the Jane Austen Museum declared that it was revising its display boards to reflect the family's links. Her reputation is likely to improve, however, after the discovery that her brother Henry was a committed abolitionist. Devaney Lucer, an Austin scholar and a professor of English at Arizona State University, found that Henry was a delegate at the World Anti-Slavery Convention of 1840 in London. The Reverend H.T. Austin was one of two representatives for Colchester, Essex. Lucer, writing in this week's Times literary supplement, said that his involvement suggested Jane's generation was more enlightened. Oh, fucking hell. Fuck off. On page 4, military could fast-track civilians into secret roles. Civilians could be fast-tracked in the military's more secretive strategic command, so that they no longer have to join the British Army, Royal Navy, or RAF first, under plans being considered by ministers. Leo Doherty, the new Minister for Defence Personnel and Veterans, said that the armed forces needed to be creative to catch up with adversaries that had evolved at a blistering pace. Basically, this is about them wanting to get more people who understand for cyber, space, and military intelligence jobs without them having to, be able to run far or carry heavy things. Her dad was a rotter and her brother was not quite such a rotter. What's that really got to do with Jane? Yeah, Matthew Paris, why we should firebomb Coventry again over Zara Sultana's latest tweet. Page 5, Stonewall gave bad advice to university in free speech. Row is the claim. Stonewall has been accused of misrepresenting the law in its advice to Essex University, which failed to uphold free speech when it dropped speakers accused of transphobia. A barrister, Akua Reindorf, warned of potential illegalities and said the university should reconsider its ties to the campaign group. Her report was commissioned by Essex after two professors were disinvited from events. Stonewall provides expert advice to hundreds of organisations, including employers, schools, universities, police forces, through its Diversity Champions programme. Joe Phoenix, a professor in criminology at the Open University, was due to speak at the Centre for Criminology seminar on trans rights, imprisonment and the criminal justice system in 2019. After protests about her inclusion, the event was cancelled. Rosa Friedman, a professor of law development and global conflict at Reading University, was told she would be invited to speak at an event on anti-Semitism. She was dropped but reinstated after she complained. The women were accused of being transphobes or having been engaged in hate speech that were called harassment. The report by Reindorf, a barrister specialising in employment and discrimination, has been accepted by the university, which promised to act on its recommendations. Says that the wording of the university's policy on supporting trans and non-binary staff could have been used to lend credence to the idea that newspaper letters on trans issues written by the two women could amount to or lead to unlawful harassment. She said this policy is founded on an erroneous understanding of the law. I'd have to read more about the details of these stories, but I'm always suspicious of the Times' framing in these cases. A council has permanently painted a pedestrian crossing in the colours of the transgender flag. The blue, pink, and white crossing in Sutton, South London was revealed to mark the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia on Monday. Sutton Council, which is run by Lib Dems, thinks that it's the first crossing in the country to be painted in the colours of the flag. Of course, the Times is implying that this is a bad thing. Lords bats away sexism claims over two-tier Oxbridge matches. Lord's cricket ground has become embroiled in sexism row after campaigners demanded that the women's Oxford varsity game be played on the same pitch as the men. Yeah, why shouldn't it be? That's stupid, them doing it on different pitches, unless there's some logistical reason, which, seems unlikely. Firms sell holidays to countries on amber list despite warnings. Let in les roast beefs, plead French restaurateurs. Service resumed in French restaurants yesterday, but leading chefs said that business would only return to normal when Britain's another non-European tourists were let in. Glastonbury is being allowed to have a one-off event for 40,000 fans in September, but they won't be allowed to camp there. It's going to be for the equinox. Villagers are furious at a state plan to charge for parkland visits. The good people of Cirencester are in revolt after a countess described plans to charge visitors to enter listed parkland at the heart of the town that has been roamed freely for centuries, as they should be. Fucking hell. Keep the land open. There's too much privatisation of land and restriction of land. And I say this as a descendant of Robert Kett, who was hanged after bringing people out in rebellion against the enclosure of common land. So, it's something I have a little interest in. On page 13, Home Office takes hard line over Glasgow deportations. More sinister framing from the Times. There's another bit of coverage for the Roald Dahl letter on reading. Philosophy. Staff strike at racist uniform school. Teachers at London School have voted to strike amid a row over uniform policies and the Union Jack, which seen the head teacher quit. Staff at the Pimlico Academy, which is part of the Future Academies Trust, voted 85% in favour of strike action in protest against management problems and unsafe working environment. See, it's nothing to do with the flag or the uniform policy. This school's been really badly run, and that there's issues there. But it's framed as about the racist uniform policy because the Times is a hugely ideological paper. Has everyone seen Priti Patel in a little fascist outfit? I have not. Industrial Pet, I don't want a crossing, I want self-ID. Slinkermeyer, fuck crossings, fund trans healthcare. Very Lib Dem approach to ending transphobia. Mini Glastonbury sounds shite, says Mark Canosis. Dick Pendrin, there are no good people in Cirencester. Dan Jones, 3142, pave over golf courses, agree. Industrial Pet, pride crossings just make the worst people in the world think we're taking over whilst doing absolutely nothing for us. I'd say that's fair enough. Ex-BBC chief-led Panorama cover-up. The claim is that Lord Hall of Birkenhead has been identified in 60 pages of previously secret documents as key figure in effort to protect the presenter. He was the head of news at the time. Joe Anderson has the former mayor of Liverpool said he's going to sue Whitehall over over their takeover of Liverpool's council. It is weird that. John Le Carré delivers final twist from Beyond the Grave. There's going to be a new Le Carré book. His son says it's fraught, forensic, lyrical, and fierce. I have pre-ordered it. It's called Silverview. It's coming out on October 14th. Graduates struggle to find good job after business or psychology degree. More ideological stuff here. Analysis published yesterday by the Office of Students shows fewer than half of students at some English universities can expect to find employment or further study after graduation. Watchdog has found significant differences in the likely job and study outcomes among graduates of different universities and colleges, and also between different courses. They claim sociology, sociology, and anthropology, agriculture and food and related studies, business management, psychology, sport and exercise sciences do worst. Medicine, dentistry, veterinary science, nursing and midwifery, pharmacology, toxicology and pharmacy degrees, and economics degrees do best. Well, out of the 4 out of the 5 degrees that they say are the best performing ones are ones that are, go into specific professions. Please put a picture of Patel into the Discord, someone who's in the Discord. Plea for a better pay to prevent exodus of teachers. Oh, I think that's reasonable. Right, here we go. Another classic one of those ones where an employment tribunal is badly reported. A pregnant estate agent who sued her boss for discrimination after too much drinking on a £25,000 trip to New York was ungrateful, a judge has said. Jesus Christ. Alice Thompson, who was earning more than £120,000 a year, it complained that her colleagues enjoyed boozy nights out while in the city. She eventually won a claim of indirect sex discrimination after her request to work flexible hours was refused. Thompson told a tribunal that she felt isolated on the trip. Sarah Goodman, the tribunal judge, said it was understandable that her boss might have found her ungrateful after paying for the staff trip. Jesus Christ. Thompson was a sales manager at Manners and estate agents at Marylebone, Central London, that catered to wealthy overseas clients. Central London Employment Tribunal that heard that 2 years after being recruited, Thompson was praised by her boss, Paul Seller. Shortly afterwards, Thompson told him that she was pregnant and Seller took the office out to celebrate. 2 months later, he arranged a staff trip to New York, which was moved forward so that Thompson could join them. The tribunal was told that she was upset that colleagues went out drinking and she was excluded from a boat trip after being told the insurance did not cover pregnant women. The tribunal found, however, that Thompson chose to go shopping rather than board the boat. She gave birth in November of 2018 and nearly a year later asked to work 4 days a week. Seller rejected her request. In the ruling, Goodman said that the company could not be blamed for Thompson's feeling of exclusion. The tribunal accepted her claim, saying that she should have been allowed to work flexible hours. A further hearing will be held to decide compensation. So a woman wins an employment tribunal case, but instead the Times focuses on a minor part of it and makes that the main part of the story.
Their estate agents, they deserve everything they get.
But that's true as well. Ex-Grenfell Council boss apologises the way that the Times covers that. Vikings use camp to launch raid on Picts. A massive camp on the Viking Great Army discovered on a Northumbrian hilltop is first physical evidence for chroniclers' accounts of raids against the Picts by the Norse commander Halfdan, experts say. The 49-hectare site in the Coquette Valley was identified by archaeologists after metal detectors found gaming counters, coins, and other artifacts typical of Viking encampments. Coins! According to excavators, the discovery appears to confirm written accounts of Halfdan ravaging the territories of the Picts and the Britons of Strathclyde in today's Scotland and Cumbria in 875 AD, after the Great Army split into two forces having conquered Mercia. Dr. Jane Kershaw, an archaeologist, said there was a very brief historical reference that Halfdan was on the Tyne and raided among the Picts and Strathclyde Britons, and that's all we've known. The site, the northernmost of the Great Army camps, illustrates the Viking strategic nous. It is on a steep hill that would have been surrounded by water on three sides and gives long views towards the coast and other hilltops. In riverside location would have allowed for easy supply and retreat. Kershaw believes Halfdan's army used the camp on its way north or coming back, or as a staging point. She said it demonstrated the reach of the Great Army, which landed in Kent in 865 and overran much of England in the 860s and 870s, before being defeated by Alfred at the Battle of Edington in 872. The battle secured the survival of Wessex and led to a treaty cementing Viking control in northern and Northumbria from 875. Viking control in northern and eastern England. Great Army camps have been found at Torskey in Lincolnshire, Repton in Derbyshire, and Aldwick in North Yorkshire. Halfdan, sometimes described as King of Northumbria from 875, was supposedly the son of Ragnar Lothbrok, the protagonist of the television series Vikings, although Lothbrok is generally thought to have been legendary. Halfdan is thought to have been killed in 877 at the Battle of Strangford Lough.
What?
Yeah.
That's home.
Yeah, Kershaw said that the finds of numerous gaming... Strangford Lough is near where Person of the Room is from. Kershaw said that the finds of numerous gaming counters of all sites illustrate the Vikings' love of board games and possibly gambling. Definitely gambling. The discovery was revealed in the Gone Medieval podcast from History Hit. Kershaw added, people have never really looked for anything this far north. North of the Tees, you have very few Scandinavian place names, hardly any artifacts, very few burials. So it's not an area we think the Vikings influenced. Excavations expected to start in September may reveal Viking burial sites and fortifications. Ragnar Lothbrok, what a chad. Hey SK, how you doing? Glad to see Big Follows energy. Halfdan, never go full down. See you, Mr. Gump, have a good one. See you soon. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Moving into paper, David Aronovich, it's not his most objectionable column, but the headline on it, abortion is new front line in US culture wars. At what point has abortion not been the front line of the US culture wars? It's been that since Roe versus Wade and way before. James Marriott is just tedious. Why nostalgia beats living in the moment. Janice Turner is awful. Let's not bother with her. Ian Martin is even more awful. So it's a quadruple fuck off for the comment section of the Times for me today. Cher, or at least most of her, is 75 today. Tim Albury, theatre and opera director, is 69. Nice. Jeff Blackett, president of Rugby Football Union and Judge Advocate General of the Armed Forces until 2020, is 67. Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the Tory Backbench 1922 Committee and the deputy chairman of the Centre for Policy Studies, not happy birthday to him, he's 54. Colin Sutherland, Lord Carloway, the Lord Justice General and Lord President of the Court of Session in Scotland, is 67. Flight Lieutenant J.A. Cruikshank, VC, the last living recipient to have been awarded the Victoria Cross during the Second World War, is 101. Lynn Davies, the long jump Olympic gold medalist in 1964 and President of UK Athletics until 2015, is 79. Greg Dyke, chairman of the London Film School, the Football Association until 2016, and the British Film Institute till 2016, and the Director General of the BBC until 2004, is 74. Right Reverend Vivian Fall, the Lord Bishop of Bristol, is 66. Keith Fletcher, the cricketer and England player until 82, and team manager until 1995, is 77. Chris Froome, the cyclist, is 36. Chris Froome is younger than me, Jesus. Sir John Hegarty, advertising director, chairman of Bartle Bogle Hegarty until 2012, is 77. Lord Clive Hollick, chief executive of United Business Media until 2005, is 76. Chair Claire Horton, the director general of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission until 2020. Currently, and chief executive of Battersea Dogs and Cats Home until 2020, is 59. Debbie Jevons, the tennis player, director of sport for LOCOG, organiser of the London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games, is 61. Matt Langridge, the rower, an Olympic gold medalist, is 38. James Max, the talk radio broadcaster, is 51. Boo. Michelle Robert, novelist of Ignorance, is 72. Charles Spencer, Earl Spencer, custodian of Althorp and writer of To Catch a King, Charles II's Great Escape, is 57. Louis Theroux is 51. Happy birthday to him. Wai Jingsheng, the Chinese human rights activist, is 71. And Thomas Woodcock, the genealogist, Garter Principal King of Arms, is 70. And on this day in 1895, the US Supreme Court ruled that a national income tax passed by Congress in 1894 was unconstitutional. The last word today goes to Gregory Peck from his biography, Gregory Peck, A Charmed Life. Entertainment is all right, but entertainment with an idea behind it is much more important, he said. Gregory Pecker says use of weapons. Hey, Gregory Pecker. Charles II should also have been beheaded. Agreed. In the world news, Israeli jets destroy 60 miles of Hamas tunnels. At least that's what they claim. Benjamin Netanyahu did one of his classic PowerPoint presentations. And of course, the Times have made a little diagram of it.
Are those the tunnels that look exactly like civilian houses?
Yeah. Funny enough. Netanyahu dismisses Biden's call to scale back bombing raids. Netanyahu loves to bomb. Biden sidesteps row with Russia by giving nod to gas pipeline. Denmark orders refugee Syrians to go home. Ah, yes, the liberal Scandinavian countries. Merkel loses minister to plagiarism. One of Angela Merkel's ministers has resigned over allegations that she plagiarized parts of her doctoral thesis. Franziska Giffey, 43, the cabinet minister for families, women and youth, is a rising star of the centre-left SPD and is running as its candidate for mayor of Berlin. She was awarded a doctorate by the Free University of Berlin in 2012, writing her thesis on the EU's relationship with civil society. In 2019, a report by Vroniplag Wiki, a website that analyzes German public figures, dissertation said that 13.2% had been plagiarized from at least 52 sources, and one page had been lifted almost entirely from a 2008 English language treatise on the topic. At least 50% of the text on 10 other pages was allegedly borrowed without credit. Imagine that. In Germany, you have to resign for plagiarizing your thesis, but in the UK, you can, be back in government like Priti Patel after running your own independent foreign policy. Fake PhDs brought down the last Conservative government in Spain. Weird politicos keep giving themselves fake PhDs. Studying fangirl writing in from Egypt says, fuck Netanyahu. Here's a picture of some tigers having a play fight in water at the Ranthambore National Park in Rajasthan. hello to those tigers. In the business news, China curbs see Bitcoin price plunge. Santander boss tells court that Orcel had no job contract. A high-profile row between the boss of Santander and a top financier who was briefly set to be the lender's chief executive has finally reached the court room, with the head of the Spanish group arguing that Andrea Orcel was not given a contract for the job. Oftentimes, you don't need a written contract because the contract is exists because of the way the job is undertaken. Studying Van Gogh, writing from Israel. Dick Pendren on the court was where he spent most of his days. Simon Nixon writes in the business section, levelling up will never succeed if it comes at the expense of London. Levelling up is bullshit rhetoric, full stop. Great Portland beats 800 million on net zero carbon offices. Great Portland Estates is making an £800 billion bet on demand for net zero carbon offices in central London. Great Portland can fuck off. It's a massive landlord. Pub companies see glass half full glass half full despite huge losses. In the obituaries, Evelyn McNichol, Scottish doctor and climber who in 1955 took part in the first all-female Himalayan expedition and started scuba diving in her 70s. She has died aged 94. She sounds cool. Charles Grodin, prolific actor who played a caddish newlywed in The Heartbreak Kid and starred opposite Robert De Niro in Midnight Run, has died. He was 86. He had bone marrow cancer. He was an excellent actor. His faux passive-aggressive persona made him a popular talk show guest, is what the Times obit says. Actually worth watching some of those compilations on YouTube of his late show appearances. Use of weapons, I fully agree. London should be levelled completely. Jovan Divjak, Serbian commander in the Bosnian army who defended Sarajevo under siege and founded a charity to help war orphans, gets a obituary. He's 84. For nearly four decades, Marshal Josip Broz Tito used his dictatorial power to hold Yugoslavia together, but after his death in 1980, the country's ethnic groupings began to break away from Belgrade. 1992 was the turn of predominantly Muslim Bosnian and Herzegovina to assert its independence. The Republic Serb minority resisted. They were backed by neighbouring Serbia, led by Slobodan Milosevic and Yugoslav People's Army. When war erupted that April, Jovan Divjak faced divided loyalties as an ethnic Serb and a senior JNA officer who made Sarajevo, the Bosnian capital, his home. He chose to support Bosnia and joined the fledgling Bosnian army as one of only two non-Muslims on its general staff. I felt it was my moral obligation to stand with those who were in danger and to offer my professional military knowledge to the Bosnian soldiers to enable them to stand against any threat that might come. He was court-martialed by the JNA for distributing arms to the Bosnian forces and sentenced to 9 months imprisonment, but managed to escape. He was then wrongfully imprisoned for 27 days by Bosnian authorities who suspected him of collaborating with the Serbs. Thereafter, he became deputy commander of the Bosnian army during the Serbs' 4-year siege of Sarajevo and helped to coordinate the city's defence. He was given the rank of general to underscore Bosnia's multi-ethnic aspirations. Divjak was involved in a notorious incident in May 1992 when the Serbs captured the Bosnian president at Sarajevo airport and agreed to exchange him for a senior Serb commander. The president was freed, but Bosnian soldiers fired on the convoy carrying the Serb to safety, killing several JNA soldiers and stopping it from leaving. Divjak negotiated the commander's release, and TV footage showed him ordering the Bosnian soldiers to stop shooting. He was nonetheless indicted by a Belgrade court. On another occasion, he was returning from the front lines when he heard of a Serb mortar attack on a Bosnian Muslim home in Sarajevo that had killed the family's 3 children. Compassionate man, he took his considerable risk of visiting the parents to express his condolences despite being a Serb himself. I welcomed him because I felt he was a man of good heart, Halida Bojadzi, the mother, recalled. Being a lone Serb in the Bosnian army, he was dangerous, however. His loyalty was often questioned, and he was excluded from the army's decision-maker. It was rumoured that whenever he visited Bosnian forces on the front line, the Serbs stopped shelling their positions and resumed as soon as he left. In 1993, the US ambassador offered him safe passage out of Sarajevo. He refused, he said, because I considered it more important to stay here to make it easier for others to get through the war. Eventually, the president summoned Divjak and proposed that he retire, offering the job of military attaché in Paris. I was crying inside. I didn't understand why, Divjak said. Yet he still refused to leave Sarajevo. The siege of the city lost more than 10,000 lives. Divjak considered his service to the Bosnians as the most honourable part of his professional life. To the Serbs, he was a traitor and war criminal. To most Bosnians, Uncle Jovo was a hero. Jovan Divjak was born in Belgrade in 1937. His father, a former member of the JNA, worked as a teacher in the village near the Yugoslav capital. When he was 13, his mother opted out of an unhappy marriage and took her son to northern Serbia, where she found work in a factory. When he was 19, she could no longer afford his education, so he enrolled at the military academy. Yeah, so an interesting one there. Yeah, there's a really interesting documentary you should watch as well called Finding Family, which is about my friend Ogi Tomic, who was an orphan, or thought he was an orphan, who survived the siege of Sarajevo, grew up thinking he was Bosnian, and later discovered that he actually had Serbian family. Yeah. Dane says 100% recommend visiting Bosnia, particularly Mostar. Stark difference Croatia, which has had a lot of help from tourists. The law pages of the Times says Queen's speech suggests unnecessary changes to freedom of expression law. Yet no shit. They're trying to sell you the G-Tech hedge trimmer, new electric boilers, train trip through Alaska and Canada. In the sport, he's had enough. Want away Kane cuts a frustrated figure as Spurs put on Surrey show for returning fans and advantage Liverpool in top 4 race. SK Crusader, Mostar famous for having a bridge built by an architect with the same name as me. Also, Mostar means bridge. Dick Pendrum, was that bridge not bombed during the war? I remember that being Courceleber in the UK. You can see where it's been rebuilt. Right. Okay, that was the Times for me. 1 point. I'll add a point for the Tigers, and that obit was interesting. No coverage of Villa versus Spuds. Yeah, coverage. Main coverage. The coverage of the inside. There is big coverage. There's a whole double-page spread of Villa versus Spurs. Right, so yeah, that's a minus 68 for me. One point added for the Tigers. A minus 69 from Dick Pendrin. Same score as me from Slinkermeyer, a minus 68, a +1 for the Tigers, and Mark Kanosis gives it a minus 90. Now we come to our final paper of the day. It's the Daily Mail. Dan Jones, 31.42. Tottenham shoving their £60 season ticket holders into the upper tier so they could keep the advertising boards up was pretty disgusting. Red Tick Seed gives a time minus all the numbers, and use of weapons agrees with Dan. And here we go with the Daily Mail. Daily Mail front page. What your cleaner really thinks of you. Well, I am my own cleaner and I despise myself. The main story, holiday police to knock on your door. This is Priti Patel saying families should expect to knock on the door when they return from abroad. I suspect she doesn't even mean it's about COVID. What, love?
If Priti Patel comes knocking on our door, she's getting short shrift.
Very short shrift, yeah. And on the right-hand side of the page, Friends again, 17 years on, and still gensational. Page 3 of the Daily Mail is the Friends reunion. Pages 4 and 5 is pushing the notion that June 21st will go ahead as normal. Pages 6 and 7 are dedicated to airline fury at number 10 Amber List debacle. On page 9, it's more coverage of Kate, Duchess of Cambridge, swanning about a museum. On page 11, it's about Princess Beatrice having a baby. Page 10, they give actually quite estimable coverage to the disgusting delay into the report of the murder of Daniel Morgan by the Home Office. The Home Office didn't murder Daniel Morgan, but they've delayed the report. Priti Patel claiming the traditional government get-out clause for delaying reports national security concerns. On pages 12 and 13, British Rail is back almost. This is Grant Shapps with his claim of the Great British Rail Company, which is the most Brexity name they could have gone for. On page 17, we're about to discover if UFO truth is out there. As Obama hints they may not be a hoax, a Senate report is poised to lay bare the real X-Files. And here a former MOD expert says they could be earth-shattering. Lots of things could be lots of things. Stephen Glover, the most zombie-looking columnist in the British press, says this flight shambles has left the liberal Boris I once knew in a tailspin. Jesus Christ. Ryan Quinn says there's going to be 500 flags on every train carriage. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not too far from that. On page 21, Chris Whitty attacks kill-for-profit tobacco firms. He's right to do so. Disgusting, fat-phobic, eating disorder. What's going on? Yeah, I don't want you to hurt yourself wrecking the joint. You can wreck the joint. Yeah, on pages 22 and what is cooking? What are you cooking something for dinner, aren't you?
Yes.
The side dish.
The lentil and aubergine.
Lentil and aubergine. Our side dish for dinner. I'm doing sea bass. There you go. Sophisticated eaters here. 10,000 flags when all you need is a decent instructor spending. Yeah, I think it will be nice. It will be nice. A person in the room is a good cook, and I knock up a nice sea bass. On pages 22 and 23, Sarah Vine with fat-phobic, eating disorder encouraging coverage as ever. Why I'm not surprised so many women are obese. A staggering 1 million people have gone to hospital due to weight problems in the past year. Again, this is like the figures, whatever. Red Tick Seed says, person in the room wants to break stuff like Limp Bizkit. Auntie Dane says, Mick knocks up sea bass. You heard it here first. Yeah. No, look, we've had discussions about this before vis-a-vis mermaids, right? Both types, fish head at the top, fish body at the bottom. Neither type of mermaid is fuckable.
And I'm no longer like to say Damien as Talaka.
Yeah, but because that requires way more explanation than we can get into today. Okay, May 20th, 2021, on this day, from the Daily Mail archive, May 20th, 1982, Sophia Loren, Queen of Cinema, returned to Rome in regal style yesterday and was promptly taken to jail. She stepped from an airliner at Leonardo da Vinci Airport. A plainclothes flying squad officer served a magistrate's document requiring Sophia to serve a 30-day jail sentence for tax evasion. She served 17 days, but was cleared when Italy's Supreme Court backed her in 2013. May 20th, 2004, the Daily Mail wrote, a protester made a mockery of common security yesterday by hurling flour-filled condoms at Tony Blair. Father's rights activist Ron Davis hit him on the back with one of the missiles during Prime Minister's questions. Davis and Guy Harrison, his accomplice from Fathers for Justice, hid the flower bombs in their underpants. Happy birthday to Jessica Raine, 39, RADA-trained actress from Herefordshire, made her name as Jenny Lee, the lead role in BBC's Call the Midwife, and then was also in Downton Abbey, I believe. Flight Lieutenant John Cruikshank is 101, former RAF officer from Aberdeen. We talked about him previously. Edith Fellows was born on this day in 1923. She was a US child actress who started acting at 6. She starred opposite Bing Crosby in Pennies from Heaven. Her estimated $100,000 earnings were placed in trust. By the time she turned 21, she found only $900 left and believed her mother had taken the funds. Also born on this day in 1916, Owen Chadwick, who died in 2015, the Anglican priest and Vice-Chancellor of Cambridge University, became one of Britain's greatest scholars on the history of Christianity. On May 30th in 1913, the Great Spring Flower Show was held for the first time. It's now the RHS Chelsea Flower Show. In 1932, US aviator Amelia Earhart began the flight to become the first woman to fly non-stop and alone across the Atlantic. Quote of the day comes from Rupert Brooke, who wrote, famously, if I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. Joke of the day, what do you call it when one hammock teases another? Hamockery. I mean, Jesus Christ. Flower bomb story sounds like satire did really happen. Manatee head, woman bottom mermaid is what Red Tick Seed's going for. Mark Kenosis, first woman to be eaten by coconut crabs. Jesus. Apparently, a lot of mermaid sightings are thought to have been manatees. Yeah, sailors hot for manatees. Hot manatees in your area. Fleeced by the wedding glamour scammer. Couples left in lurch hours before ceremony. A heartless con woman who spent 2 decades fleecing love-struck men is facing jail after admitting also leaving couples who hired her as a wedding planner in the lurch. Weird story of the day. Amorous grey squirrels face contraceptive crackdown. It's a tale that Beatrice Potter would have struggled to illustrate. Grey squirrels face being given contraceptive pills covered in hazelnut paste to keep their numbers down. The hat worn by Indiana Jones by Harrison Ford in an Indiana Jones film could fetch up to £176,000 at auction. It was used in the 1984 film Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Drunken night, Ava confessed all to me, writes Michael Thornton. He met Ava Gardner and he says she told him the truth about her bisexual affairs and why her 3 husbands could never satisfy her. Ava Gardner was an absolute piece. Slinker Meyer, Nutella birth control. The chat is going in a bad direction. Mark Kenosis, to be fair, I think manatee isn't a bad answer to. If you had to fuck an animal, which would it be? Oh, Jesus Christ. There is no good answer to that question. Moving on, front page of female magazine. Mum, what is the point of you? However successful you are to a teenage daughter, you're just the clown in chief, writes Lorraine Candy. Looking forward to Kid in the Room becoming a teenager here and deciding that we're desperately uncool. She's already on the way to doing that, to be fair. They got various suits that are actually quite cool. Suits for women or female identifying people. There you go. Look at that. Awesome suits. Female face-off as MPs launch a campaign, or femme people, or whatever way you want to describe those suits. Like, a very femmy cut of suit is what I'm going for there. They say, as MPs launch a campaign to outlaw it in the UK, is it now time for catcalling was made a crime? Rachel Round says she likes catcalling. Fucking hell. The Daily Mail can always find a woman who's going to speak out against the interests of other women. And Liz Hodgkinson says, yes. Make catcalling a crime. Yodi Stomach Pump. Big news, everyone. My new ginger grater has arrived and it's a delight. Fantastic. Dry-aged birth control. Googa's in the chat. Mark Kenosis gets asked a question of what animal would he fuck more than he would like, which is like any time. In the pub with men. Red Tickseed, which animal is it okay to fuck? Get Ian Austin on the line. Studying Fangirl suggests Mark gets better friends. Catcalling isn't illegal. No, it's, well, it's, I mean, public harassment, there are ways of being found guilty of it, but yeah. Mark Kenosis, that is the kind of conversation you get working in call centres, that's true. I have previously worked in call centres and can agree. Can confirm that. Jenny Murray says, why I'll never get on a plane again. What your cleaner really thinks of you. Tell your children to clear up their filth. Stop leaving your bank statements around and put your sex toys away. You know, clean up. Yeah. Yeah. The women falling prey to a new wild west of online therapy. Pouring out your secrets via an app has suddenly taken off. But as these alarming stories reveal, paying a stranger, or even, incredibly, a robot, to help you with your mental health can do more harm than good. Chatbots are not robots. I would say, would you say chatbots? They're not robots, are they? Yes. By the way, if you want to know more about robots, particularly sex robots, buy Person in the Room's Turned On, Science, Sex and Robots, available from all good booksellers and also bad ones like Amazon. A woman who had her first child at age 50 says, here's what Naomi needs to know, and sadly it's no catwalk in the park. I think it'll be quite a lot easier for Naomi Campbell than most people because she's extremely rich. How you can join in the summer sexplosion, says the Mail, by the expert who puts women's pleasure first. Apparently you've got to get mentally in the zone, play the yes and game, and put it top of your to-do list. Right.
Yes
Yeah. In the blind date column, Annie and Bob didn't have a spark but said nice things about each other, so well done them. SK the Crusader says person in the room's book is good.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, because I think we sent a copy to SK. Yeah. Dick Pendrin, perhaps a T-shirt to make it clear that you don't fuck animals, and thus head off the question and provide a new "My I Don't Fuck Animals" T-shirt meme. Use of weapons says robots already exist too much. Death to the machine. The male talking about sex is talking about wife swapping. And SK's partner also read it. Well, that's great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think it's a good book. Also, I'm in the acknowledgements, so I'm required to like it, but it is good. I also came up with the subtitle for it.
You did, and you're in the actual book.
Oh yeah, I am quoted in the actual book talking about incels, not being one, reporting on them. The psychedelic drug trial gets 2 stars in the TV review, and a very royal baby from Cradle to Crown gets 2 stars. In the cartoons, Garfield is chatting to the spider in Chloe and Co. Chloe and a man are drinking and talking about relationships. Sitting down, yeah, because the creator of Chloe and Co. doesn't know how to draw legs. And in Fred Bassett, the gang that they fight with comes along and Fred runs away to protect himself. I think it is important that Fred protects himself. That's fine. Good Fred. Yodi Stomach Bump. My t-shirt that says I am not an incel. Yeah, okay. SK the Crusader. SK the Crusader. I wasn't even in my partner's PhD thesis. Not that I'm salty about it at all. Her comment on the matter was, well, you're under friends and family. Mark Kenosis says the acknowledgement in Person in the Room's book reads, this book completed despite the hindrance of Mick Wright. I mean, it's not too far from the truth. Right, in the straight to the point letters, Gillian Pinnock of Suffolk says, why don't doctors routinely listen to the hearts of the over 65? It's a bit difficult to do this over the phone. James Wignall says, Wignall, real name, we found exports the EU welcomes with open arms. Our tourists and their money. Mike Howell from Folkestone says, surely Boris's debt of £535 was not piffle, but peffle. Oh, Jesus. David Baldwin of Northumberland says, giant flower pots in Walsall. I wouldn't like to meet Bill and Ben. Fucking hell, contemporary references there, David. Glinny Maidment says, lovey, no loo, darling. Ian Harrington says, is there a sat-nav that avoids potholes? Oh, fucking hell. Joe Pepper, real name, says, as a child, I spent happy summer holidays with relatives in Doncaster. We'd have Yorkshire pudding swimming in onion gravy as a first course and another Yorkshire spread with jam and custard for dessert. Ian Brown, presumably not that one, says, what do the political parties stand for? Tories got Brexit done. SNP Indie Ref 2. DUP. Ulster says no. Lib Dems rejoin the EU. Labour, no one knows. Stefan Badham writes, with TV channels devoted to films, Netflix streaming, downloads, YouTube and DVDs, why go to the cinema to watch a movie next to a stranger rustling sweet wrappers? Why indeed? I like the cinema as it goes. Today's recipe is crab and saffron risotto. Fair enough. Use of weapons claims no one ever has a good time in Doncaster. CSK, have a good one. When are you next streaming? Tonight, I presume. Cinemas. Yeah, I like the cinema. I enjoy going with Kid in the Room. She and I enjoy it. Person in the Room finds cinemas hard to pay attention for that long in the cinema. In the adverts today, they're trying to sell Manuka honey, ugly sandals, disgusting looking frozen meals, flowers, various walk-in baths, a cruise where you get shouted at by John Bishop and served booze by a robot, life insurance.
No coins?
I'm just waiting to see. No coins today. No coin ads in the Daily Mail today. Person in the Room very happy about that. And in the sport, Lampard on Chelsea acts Roman and his next job. Here we go. Rivals are listening as Liverpool climb into top 4. And Edgbaston to turn blue for Wills. Edgbaston will turn blue on June 13th for the one-day international against Pakistan in memory of former England fast bowler Bob Willis, who died in December 2019 from cancer. The Blue for Bob Day will raise money for Prostate Cancer UK. Frank Lampard Jr., yeah. That is 69.69, minus 69.69 for me. No, triple minus negative 9. 69.69.69 for the Daily Mail. That is your last paper today. It's a minus 10,000 from Ged Station. Remember, tomorrow is a magazine special. And if you want to be the person who chooses what the magazine is, or just sends me a list of magazines that don't exist that you want me to read out.
You done this yet?
Yeah, I've done all this.
Oh, you've done National Enquirer?
I did it yesterday.
Oh, I missed it.
Throw some coins into the newspaper fund, paypal.me/conquest of the useless, and stick what magazine you want featured in the comments. Yes, and thank you yesterday, Ged Station, for your contribution. PayPal.me/conquest the useless. Slinkermeyer gives the Daily Mail a quadruple negative nice. Red Tixie gives it minus 80 billion. And Dick Pendron says minus infinite bastard. SK and Studying Fangirl is streaming tonight at 6, talking about conspiracy theories. That will be well worth tuning in for. And of course, do remember, if you are not yet a member of the Discord, it's free to join, and we talk about other stuff there. Go to that link and join. Review Chin Mag from End Participation's Vampire stream. And Use of Weapons says, right, minus fuck 'em. Oh, Ged Station is streaming in a couple of minutes. Go check him out now. Go to his stream and check him out. Yes. What's that? You made too much side dish? Have you is it basically your main dish? All right, everybody. Yes. So get over there and see and watch Ged Station, and I will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Have a great stream, Ged. Cheers.